I'm going to be graduating out soon, so it's like, yeah, I mean, but I could just, graduate.
Okay, so we're going to talk about close reading today. I guarantee, even if you don't know what this means, you've probably done it at some point in your life. Basically, it's just a fancy way of saying that we're going to look at a passage and we're going to just analyze and dig a little bit deeper. This is something you'll do with more short stories, not as much like really long novels, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to play a little game. So I'm going to have the directions on the board as well, but basically on that white blank slip of paper that you have, I'm going to give everybody a minute to write down things that you would think would be included in a short fiction story. For some examples, just so you kind of know what I'm looking for, you can use these if you want. Plot, characters, you can just think about like what's in a plot, those things, anything you want. Very open, unlimited, and we're going to do it in a minute to see who can get the most. So it's like a little competition, okay? So I'm just going to pull up the timer. Okay, everyone ready? Ready, go. Ten seconds. And time. Okay, pencils down. So let's see, if you were able to identify 3 or more items, can you just raise your hand? Ooh, yeah, okay. If you're able to identify 6 or more items, raise your hand. Keep your hand raised. If not, you can put your hand down. 8 or more. 10 or more. Ooh, 11 or more. Okay, we'll jump 15 or more. Oh yeah, okay, that's our last hand. Do you want to list, like say what you said?
Yeah. I don't really know if this was really the way you want me to go, but plot, conflict, characters, exposition, rising action, falling action, resolution, denouement, inciting incident, theme, lessons, metaphors, similes, imagery, personification.
That was perfect. That was really good. Yeah, that's right along the line of what we were looking for. And those items that everyone chose to list, specifically the ones that you listed, are going to fall into close reading. So here's our definition for close reading. This is straight from the dictionary. A method of literary analysis which focuses on the specific details of a passage or text in order to discern some deeper meaning present in it. So basically, all of those things that you listed are aspects that you can look for in the passage that you're reading. We're not going to touch on all of them today. We're going to keep it pretty basic level, but those are things that we're going to look for. So I'm going to put these on the board as well so we have them. But in our passage today, which is going to be the pedestrian, which is the passage in front of you, we're going to be looking for plot. Specifically, we're going to be looking for our exposition and rising action. We're going to be looking for characters throughout the story, and we'll box them as we go. We're going to be looking for setting, which we will circle. Questions that we have. So this would just be like, if you read something and you're not really sure what's going on or why the author included that, you're just going to throw a little squiggly line underneath. Then we'll go to theme or supports for the theme. So each story has a theme, and as we're looking through, we're going to try to find like what aspects from the story support our theme that we have, and we'll do a double underline. Then we have point of view. We will list that at the top of the page, so that'll be our first, second, or third person point of view. If you really want to go into it, you can be like limited, omniscient, or something like that. And then intended emotion that we will list at the side of the page. So how does the passage make you feel? What emotions do you think the author is trying to get you to understand? And it's just important to remember that authors choose to include these things for a certain reason. They're not just thrown in there at random. Most of the time, authors are thinking about, how will this make my audience feel? Like, how will this help progress the story along? So we want to make sure that we understand that every part of the story is an important aspect that was meant to be in there. It wasn't just thrown in there. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be reading The Pedestrian, and I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background information, which is also important to understanding how the story is going to progress. So our author is Ray Bradbury. He was also a screenwriter, so this was developed into like a bit of a short film, and he wrote it for the purpose of being developed into a short film. The date of publication was August 7th, 1951, so this was written a long time ago, but we'll see that some of the ideals in this story still actually apply to today and are very relatable to the society that we're in. The genre is science fiction. And when looking at themes, as we progress through class, not necessarily today, we will try to find our own themes throughout the story, and you guys will be coming up with your own themes. But for today's purpose, so we can identify support, I'm going to give you two themes that are present through the story, and that would be isolation and then technology versus print. Okay? And then here's just a bit of an example of what a close reading annotation looks like. Everybody's is going to look different. So this is just some of the stuff I did, so we can see our setting is circled, we have our boxed characters, squiggly lines for questions, our brackets, and lots of notes in the margins. So at the end of the day, this is kind of what your story might look like. And this is the story that we're reading, so I'll take it away, just so we don't have anything. All right, so this is where I need some participation. I will start by reading the first two paragraphs, and then can I get a person to read the second two paragraphs? Yeah, you can go back there, yep. So, all right, we'll start, I'll stop, we'll talk, and then I'll go to you, okay? All right, so everyone can pull out their paper. Feel free to follow along with a pencil or marker in hand. Okay. The Pedestrian by Ray Bradbury. To enter out into that silence that was the city at 8 o'clock of a misty evening in November. To put your feet upon that buckling concrete walk. To step over grassy seams and make your way, hands in pockets, through the silences. That was what Mr. Leonard Mead most dearly loved to do. He would stand upon the corner of an intersection and peer down long moonlit avenues of sidewalk in four directions, deciding which way to go, but it really made no difference. He was alone in this world of AD 2053, or as good as alone, and with a final decision made, a path selected, he would stride off, sending patterns of frosty air before him like the smoke of a cigar. Sometimes he would walk for hours and miles and return only at midnight to his house. And on his way he would see the cottages and homes with their dark windows, and it was not unequal to walking through a graveyard, where only the faintest glimmers of a firefly light appeared in the flickers behind the windows. Sudden gray phantoms seemed to manifest upon inner rooms, room walls where a curtain was still undrawn against the night, or there were whisperings and murmurs where a window in a tomb-like building was still open. Okay, so in that first two paragraphs, there's definitely some things that we can highlight. So can anyone give me something that maybe we could box or circle or squiggly line, anything? Yeah, go ahead.
The character is Leonard.
Yeah, definitely. So we can throw a box around Mr. Leonard Mead so we can identify our characters. Yeah.
Setting is AD 2053.
Definitely. And with that, you guys can also circle that first line where it says city at 8 o'clock of a misty evening in November. That definitely gives us some context for the rest of the story. Anything else that anyone has? Another thing we can look at, we can label this as the exposition. So that first paragraph specifically, we can throw brackets around that and kind of put in the margins exposition as part of our plot. And as you guys are doing now, this one, like I said, questions are a little more personal because it's just what questions do you have? But for me, I know that I put a squiggly line under the line that says, murmurs where a window in a tomb-like building was still open, because I was what do they mean by tomb-like building? How does that apply to what the author's trying to get across? Why is he referencing it as a tomb and not just a home or a building? So you can do that as well. Okay, would you like to go on and read? Go ahead.
And just the next two paragraphs?
Yeah, we'll do the next two.
Mr. Leonard Mead would pause, cock his head, listen, look, and march on, his feet making no noise on the lumpy walk.
For long ago, he had wisely changed to sneakers when strolling at night, because the dogs in intermittent squads would parallel his journey with barkings if he wore hard heels, and lights might click on and faces might appear, and an entire street be startled by the passing of a lone figure, himself, in the early November evening. On this particular evening, he began his journey on a westerly direction, toward the hidden sea. There was a good crystal frost in the air. It cut the nose and made the lungs blaze like a Christmas tree inside. You could feel the cold light going on and off, all the branches filled with invisible snow. He listened to the faint push of his soft shoes through autumn leaves with satisfaction, and whistled a cold, quiet whistle between his teeth, occasionally picking up a leaf as he passed, examining its skeletal pattern in the infrequent lamplights as he went on, smelling its rusty smell.
Good, thank you. So does anyone notice anything from these next two paragraphs? Maybe think along the lines of like setting. I know we already touched on setting, but they're still present in these paragraphs. We can look at the part where it says November evening at the bottom of paragraph, that first paragraph that was read. So that once again applies to the setting, so we can circle that. We can also, I know I circled this section here where it said, there was a good crystal frost in the air. It cut the nose and made the lungs blaze like a Christmas tree inside. So that kind of references like it's very cold outside. It's probably, well, being that it's November, it's probably starting to become winter. Another thing that is not necessarily on our list, but does apply to setting is that line where it says, made the lungs blaze like a Christmas tree. That simile, once again, provides good information about the setting. It's very cold, and even just the fact that he talks about Christmas tree, like, again, that winter theme. And then one of our themes that we're talking about is isolation. So can anyone try to find a word or a few words in these two paragraphs that maybe support isolation, like alone or like no one else was there? Can anyone find any of those words? Maybe looking in the last two lines of the first paragraph. Yeah.
It says he's a lone figure.
Yep. So I would definitely underline that because that goes into our theme of isolation. Good. Anyone have anything else? All right. Would anyone like to read the next two paragraphs? It's a little shorter of a section. Yeah,
Hello in there, he whispered to every house on every side as he moved. What's up tonight on Channel 4, Channel 7, Channel 9? Where are the cowboys rushing? And do I see the United States cavalry over the next hill to the rescue? The street was silent and long and empty, with only his shadow moving like the shadow of a hawk in mid-country. If he closed his eyes and stood very still, frozen, he could imagine himself upon the center of a plain, a wintry, windless Arizona desert, with no house in 1,000 miles and only dry riverbeds, the streets for company.
awesome. Thank you. Does anyone notice anything here? I'm thinking more like theme related. So like again, that like alone, isolation type themes. Some keywords that we can find. Yeah, go
It says how the street was silent and long and empty.
ahead. Mm-hmm.
And then also just, he could imagine himself in the center of a desert with no house in 1,000 miles.
Definitely. Yeah, that desert is like a good depiction of think when you're in a desert, like you're probably by yourself, you can't really see things. It's like a dry, like deserted place, and that's how he feels in his street of his home, which is definitely a little strange because I feel like at night a lot of us might see like people walking their dogs or people taking a casual stroll, but like in his time that's not really how it was. Okay, last section we'll do as a class is anybody want to read the next two paragraphs? It's again really short. I can always pick up if nobody wants to read. Okay.
What is it now? He asked the houses, noticing his wristwatch. 8:30 p.m. Time for a dozen assorted murders, a quiz, a review. Comedian falling off the stage. Was that a murmur of laughter from within a moonlight house? He hesitated, but went on when nothing more happened. He stumbled over a particularly uneven section of a sidewalk. The cement was vanishing under flowers and grass. In 10 years of walking by night or day for thousands of miles, he had never met another person walking, not once at all in that time.
Good. So what would we do for 8:30 p.m.? What would that be considered? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah, good. So we would circle the setting. And then this one is a little bit more tricky, but I have underlined time for a dozen assorted murders, a quiz, a review, a comedian falling off the stage, because that would go into our theme of technology versus print, because that's talking about, and we'll see as we go, that's talking about how like, that's what they're watching on TV. So that's what they're focusing on. They're just focusing on the things that the channels that they're watching. Earlier, it said what's up tonight on channel 4, channel 7, channel 9. All about that technology, like what are they watching on TV. And then finally, in that little section, I also have underlined, if you guys would like to underline it as well, the last line where it says, he had never met another person walking, not once in all that time. Once again, going into that isolation theme, he's alone, he never really sees anyone when he's walking, he doesn't interact with other people, that he's very isolated in his community. Okay, so I want to give you guys like 2 or 3 minutes. I just want you to look at the next few paragraphs. You can go as far as you want. I want you to try to find at least 1 or 2 items from that list. So kind of like we just went over, like you can box it, you can circle it, you can underline it. I would say the easiest thing if you can't find anything is find a line that you have a question on. Something that you don't understand, throw a squiggly line under it and write your question in the margin. So when you're done, just put your pencils down. Okay, good. So as we're wrapping up, it's okay if you're still working. I just want you to turn to a partner and try to justify your answer. So explain like why you had that question, or you box a character, why do you think they're important? Are they a protagonist, an antagonist, whatever that you're thinking. Honestly, just talk it out. So I'll give you guys like a minute or 2 to do that. Okay, does anyone have anything that maybe they shared and highlighted or their partner shared and highlighted that they just think is like really amazing that they want to share? Anyone have anything? Yeah, go ahead. Oh. Go ahead.
We circled the first sentence and he came to a cloverleaf intersection for the setting.
Yeah, good. And I always wondered too, like, what is a cloverleaf like intersection? Like, why did he use cloverleaf to do that? Anyone else? One thing that I don't know if everyone got to this point, but I thought really drove home the theme of technology versus print is actually on the back page if everyone wants to flip to the back. It says, he hadn't written in years. Magazines and books didn't sell anymore. Everything went on in the tomb-like houses at night now, he thought, continuing his fancy. The tombs, ill-lit by television light, where the people sat like the dead, the gray, or multicolored lights touching their faces, but never really touching them. So that really goes to that like technology, because he's just saying if they sit in their houses, like there's no print anymore. There's no reading. Like what we're holding right now, like that's non-existent in his society. And once again, it touches on that like tomb-like houses, or the tombs. Like he's calling these houses the tombs because he just believes that people are rotting away in their house because they're just focusing on technology the whole time. So that was kind of, to me, personally, really important to the theme. And as we go, you guys are going to be taking this home for homework to do whatever you didn't finish reading. And I encourage you guys to really look at the themes and also just like, I want to say have fun with it because I love annotating. But if to you it's like a little boring, like, I don't know, like especially the girls in the room, like bring out your color pencils, your fancy markers, like really mark up the whole page. Like to me, that's the most fun part. But yeah, so for homework, you guys will be finishing this. And also, what I want you to look for is a new theme in your homework, which is conformity versus individualism, basically just as you go, you'll see they're trying to conform him to that society of not really looking at print anymore and more so in the technology. So I just want you to look at the difference through that and any other themes that you might come up with. And then also, just a little exciting knowledge for the next class. We're going to talk about the connections that this work has in our personal lives. So like for me personally, I would say like, yeah, I'm very like addicted maybe to my phone. Like I'm on my phone constantly in this day and age. So how does that play into this story? And then also socially, like how does technology impact us socially in the world that we live in today? Because he wrote this in 1951 and it still applies today. And then just a verse, Philippians 1:10, so that you may be able to discern what is best and may be pure and blameless for the day of Christ. A lot of what we're doing is analyzing and really diving into the text to see if we agree with it, disagree with it, and I do feel like that really plays into our roles as Christians as well, as we need to discern what we're looking at in the world. Okay, finally, we're going to do a little game. So we're going to compete this side versus this side. So can I have one volunteer from this side and this side? Basically what you're going to do is on the board, I'm going to throw up an exit ticket question. You're going to write it on the board, and the first person to put their marker down with the correct answer gets a point. Does anyone want to go? I need one from this side and one from this side. The questions aren't too hard. And if you get it wrong, it's okay.
Question, what is the question?
Well, I can throw up the first question if you want, and somebody can just come up to the board. Okay, we've got one. Do you want to go, or do you want me to throw up a question?
I'm not going, I'm just asking.
All right, here's the first question. But you might need, someone's gonna have to run up there. You can go if you got it. All right, that's 1 point over here. That's good. All right, Do we have any volunteers, or I'll throw up a question and somebody can just come up from each side if they know it?
Oh, I don't stay up here?
You can stay up there if you want, if nobody else wants to go from that side.
You're doing great.
I'll compete for that side.
Okay, okay. You guys gotta volunteer.
I'm about to go up, but.
Nicely
Oh,
done.
good. Okay, that side wins again. All right.
I'm sorry, guys.
Do you want to keep your volunteer?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next question.
I chose the longest one.
Okay, yeah.
I
We
chose
got
the
it. All right, here we
longest
go.
one. Wow, that's chicken scratch.
It's 2-1, 2-1. All right, so this might be a tie. Okay, last question.
We're gonna win.
What do I do?
Oh.
Oh.
Huh?
Yes, you got it. All right, they win.
Let's go.
Good job, guys. Thanks for volunteering.
Thanks for the good job.
We were really trying.
All right, that's all. Thanks.
It was very small. It was very small font.